Today, let's talk about the 2026 new launches and what kind of pricing they will be because right now we have a lot of new launches in the last quarter of 2025. If you are someone who is thinking about whether should I wait for next year or should I enter now in the market, I think this video will give you a very, very good insight whether should you wait or not. So how do we define whether we wait or not? We look at currently launches for sale, what are the land bid prices and what are the average PSF that they are going to launch at. Why do we look at land bid prices? Because land bid prices is often the most expensive cost to the developer. So obviously higher land bid usually translate higher launch prices, higher selling prices to consumers like yourself. Usually when developers buy the land, they will only launch about 1 year later because they need to do all the checks and they need to submit a lot of proposals to BCA and the relevant authorities, and they usually only launch 1 year later. Currently, all the launches that we see in the market in this year, likely they were purchased last year when the market sentiment wasn't as great yet. That's why maybe there are a bit more opportunities in the current market. But let's deep dive more into this video based on the government land sales this year and how I think they will launch next year. Q3, Q4 2025 launches, we have all these launches. Springleaf was already launched, did very well. Land bid price very cheap, only 905 PSF, and the average PSF was done 2175. This is already transacted. It was published in a newspaper. You can go and check it out. Then we have the upcoming launches like Penrith, Sky at Holland, and Zion Grand. And these are the respective land bid prices, 1001, 1002, rest of central region, and also your core central region. And that's why the prices are higher than OCR, which is understandable. The average PSF over here, we are just going to estimate based on the land bid prices. Developers may or may not launch at this. It may be lower or maybe slightly higher. But I think I'm quite close at the average PSF that will be transacted in the weeks to come. Perhaps when you watch this video, they have already launched already. But this gives us a very good idea, 2025, how are the prices like and how land bid prices affect purchase price for consumers like yourself. So now, to understand whether the launches this year is cheap or not, we need to see what is ahead of us in 2026. So this is a very recent GLS, September 12, 2025, published in the Business Times. This is at Yishun, Chencharu Close. It's a mixed site, and we have 3 bidders in total. This is the outside central region in Yishun, and the highest bidder is at $980 per square foot PPR. Well, this is a mixed site, so obviously there's a slight premium to that. And one thing I want to highlight, you see the gap between the first bidder and second bidder is quite substantial. We usually want to find good buys, right? How do we find good buys is when the developer, the first bidder, only bidded slightly above the second bidder. Then we know that, the developer didn't overpay. That is one good litmus test to find out whether potentially you can get a good deal. Because in this case, from how I see it, there is quite a significant gap between the first and second bidder. This is something that we need to be a bit more cautious. But let's compare this site and Springleaf. Springleaf was bought 905 per square foot PPR. Well, some may argue that Springleaf and Yishun, maybe Springleaf slightly better, slightly nearer to the city. But then again, Yishun, this one is not too far from MRT, and also it's a mixed site. Once again, for people like yourself, if you miss Springleaf, then you want to buy around the area, this could be potentially your next opportunity in the vicinity. And we have Lakeside. This is a very popular land plot because why 6 bidders in total? That means very, very popular. And also CDL bidded, not too bad, but I think about 10% higher than the next bidder, which is slightly significant. And 1132 per square foot per plot ratio. And this is very, very near the MRT, just beside Lakeside MRT. And for the west side lovers, obviously this is going to be a very popular spot. But what is $1,132 per square foot PPR actually in this year? So this year, 1132 actually, that is about Penrith kind of prices. So if you wait next year, my only concern is that, do we need to pay this kind of price, $2,800 PSF for Lakeside? Potentially we might need to. But the thing is, if let's say you're in a position where you can consider to enter today, probably you can enter Queenstown for Lakeside prices next year. Yeah, there's something that I want you to think about, whether or not is it worth it to wait if you have a choice. And then we have Lorong Chuan. Lorong Chuan, obviously very popular spot as well, especially for the District 19 lovers, because this is the most prime spot of District 19. And the land bid, $1,331 per square foot per plot ratio. This is significantly higher than what we saw in even the River Valley areas. So this means that next year, my concern is that are we going to see more than 3,002 per square foot in the likes of Lorong Chuan? So if let's say you are looking to buy something in the area, maybe would Chuan Park be something that you should really consider, even though developer has really increased price? So this is something that I think you should think about if you are sitting on the fence right now, if you're in the privileged position to consider to enter the market right now. Because if we wait until next year, all these prices is a bit scary. Then maybe let's take a moment to find out, why has the developers become so aggressive? So as I mentioned, developers usually bid the land first, and 1 year later they likely launch. So how they bid right now is based on the market sentiment right now. And in current market situation, we all know that every new launch, they sell very well and sales very good. So developers are likely quite bullish because they want to also get a bit of the market share. And if they don't get the land plot at all, they don't get to have business. So that's why so many developers are so aggressive, and they likely are also running low on supply in their land bank. So since market is very bullish right now, they are more aggressive in the land bids, then they'll translate the cost to consumers like ourselves. Then why is current prices of the launches, the land bid prices, so low? Because last year when they bidded the land, the market was a very different market at the time. Prior to November, where we have the likes of Nava Grove, Emerald Katong, Chuan Park, all of these launches, all of these popular launches, the market was actually very cold, and a lot of people felt that prices were very high. It was like a standstill, the momentum wasn't there. And that's why developers were also very fearful when they bidded for the land. And that's why they didn't dare to bid aggressively, they bidded more conservatively, and that's why they are able to launch cheaper relative to next year prices. So after Lorong Chuan, we have Bayshore. This is something that I've talked about in my previous videos. Super popular land plot because 8 bidders in total. 8 bidders means what? Means that even if the first and second bidder are very close in the land bid price, likely the first and the last bidder are very wide apart, which means it's unlikely that the developer will be able to get a very cheap price. Trust me, I'm sure Sim Lian didn't submit the bid just for fun. I'm sure they thought this is a winning bid that they could win. And you look over here between the 7 and the 8 land bid, actually it's quite close. So that means that, 8 bids, genuine bids, but the top bidder, Singhai, bidded $1,388 per square foot per plot ratio, even though beside Bayshore MRT, and we know the East Coast lovers would definitely like this area, but this is much, much, much higher than the likes of your Promenade Peak, your River Green, your Zion Grand land bid prices. So that's something that I think we should be a bit more concerned if we are able to even consider entering today. Then next we have Holland. This is the first CCR land sale that I'm going through right now. And this is the more ulu part of Holland. It's at Holland Link. Bullish land bid. First and second land bid. Do you see the difference? I think I'm just ballparking maybe 20 to 30% higher than the next bidder. This is super, super overpaid, in my opinion. Previously, Sim Lian was the last bidder. So why these things happen? Imagine this. You have 8 bidders over here. You thought, Jose, I submit my bid. I'm going to get the land. But you realize that, I bidded actually so low. And when they go back, right, do you think they'll be happy or sad? Actually, they'll be quite sad because they have nothing to sell. And can they operate if there's nothing to sell? They can't, because after all, they are developers. They need to have land in order they can sell these units to us. So it's likely because they suffered so badly right over here. Management give more pressure and stuff like that. Jose, right now, they want to chiong number one because they really, really need this land plot. And because of this, they overbidded by such a huge margin. and definitely they will pass this cost to consumers. So this is something that we need to really think about, and it's a huge concern because why? Right now you have Sky at Holland, and Sky is also about $1,200 per square foot per plot ratio, land bid. And Sky is at much better location because it's just near the MRT beside One Holland Village. If you wait until next year, you get the more ulu part of Holland at least $200 more per square foot. I think that's a huge concern. So yeah, bear in mind, this is something that we need to understand, and it will definitely happen. You may think about, then like that, then probably people won't buy because it's so expensive. It's true. I mean, developers have to undertake this risk, but I'm sure they've done the math and they know that Singaporeans will be able to afford, because when they bid all these land bid prices, I'm sure they've already extrapolate what is the expected PSF they're going to launch, what's the expected quantum they're going to launch. Can the people afford? And I think probably they can. That's why they went for it. If not, I don't think they'll be so bullish. So trust me, I think they will still sell. Maybe they won't sell super well, like day one, fully sold kind of situation, but they'll still sell. And that to me, I think is a concern. If you don't consider entering today, then this will be our reality to shop next year. Dunearn Road, another CCR project, Bukit Timah area, also very popular, 9 sites. And like I mentioned, first and the 9th one, you see the gap. This is about $500 per square foot. That's huge, man. That's a huge gap. And like I mentioned, I don't think the 9th bidder just went in like happy, just anyhow bidded. I don't think so. So these are 9 genuine bids, and that's a huge gap, which means, consumers unlikely able to get a good buy because of that. Why are there so many bidders? Number one, market sentiment is very good. Number two, the land site, the site itself, the location is great. And that's why developers want to get all these. But 1,004, which makes sense. I mean, Bayshore already bid 1,388. You bid for 1,004 at Bukit Timah area. It makes sense. It's just that if you juxtapose with the new launches in 2025, and you knew that Zion and Promenade Peak, all these, they only bidded for $1,200 per square foot. Does it make sense or not to go for Dunearn at 1,004? So these are the things that I wanted you to think about as I go through all this, because these are all this year land sale, and next year definitely you will launch, and trust me, property agents will be able to sell it. I know our people, but the thing is, as consumers, it's a huge concern. River Valley, so as I mentioned previously, Zion 1,002. Right now, River Valley Green 1,004. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bidders. So quite popular as well. And the first and second bidder, the gap is also very wide. Another huge concern. So this is something that I plot. Those words in white, these are your 2025 prices, land bid prices followed by average sale prices. Those in black will be our reality next year. And this is quite scary in my opinion. So I plotted OCR over here, RCR and CCR. Interestingly, what I want to show you over here is that, do you realize the CCR prices here, 1,250, I just take an average between the Zion and the Promenade area. Do you realize that the CCR land bid prices are even cheaper than next year's potential launch of the OCR regions, like your Lorong Chuan, like your Bayshore? The CCR new launches this year, they will purchase cheaper than next year's potential OCR launches. So this, to me, I think is very telling. I don't know. I don't know, how do you make sense of this? Do you think that prices are so crazy that it doesn't make sense anymore? Or do you think that, don't worry, Singaporeans always got money to handle? Or what do you think? Do you have a similar concern like myself? Because I see this, I feel very concerned, man. I'm like, wow, you just missed by a few months. And maybe it's because your HDB have an MOP, or maybe because your condo hasn't achieved SSD. And it's not like you don't want to take action, man. It's like, I listen to Nick, I want to take action, but I can't. And how do I make sense of this? So I'm sure next year there will be different opportunities, but regardless how great the opportunity next year they are, unlikely, I think they are as good as this year. So really, if you are on the fence, you could potentially enter this year. I highly encourage you to go shop in this last quarter of 2025, get something for yourself before next year, because trust me, with the drop of the interest rates, I think, the prices and the market sentiment will still continue to go up quite a bit, at least in the short term. So if you are someone looking to buy something, yeah, please go and shop. If you need help, I have my WhatsApp details in the description box. Feel free to contact me. I can help you to analyze which are better buys and whether or not should you really follow the hype, because sometimes hype doesn't mean anything. So yeah, I've come to the end of this video. I hope this has give you more insights as to the 2026 prices and whether are we really facing a very expensive environment right now in this last quarter of 2025. If not, I'll see you in the next one.